Hello and welcome back to Clarkenomics. In this video, we're going to discuss something called aggregate demand. So, before we even begin, the word aggregate, some synonyms we can use for that would be words like total or gross. Aggregate just means looking at the whole. So, we're going to set up a model. We're getting back to a little bit of graphing here in macroeconomics. So, when you do graph aggregate demand, we should first talk about what are on the axes. On the x-axis, we've got real GDP. Remember, this is real GDP as opposed to nominal GDP. What it's showing us is the output, the production in the United States in a given year. And we use real, not nominal, because we are trying to ignore the effects of inflation or deflation over time. So on the x-axis, we're going to use real GDP, which means just our aggregate, our gross output. And on the y-axis, we're going to put the price level. So the price level is the prices of everything in an economy as measured by something like the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. And so when we have these two axes, we're going to treat the y-axis just like we did in microeconomics. We're going to treat the y-axis as the independent variable and the x-axis as the dependent variable. So real GDP will increase or decrease based on what happens to the price level. And aggregate demand, pretty predictable looking. It is a downward sloping line or curve or something like that. And so we can label that AD, standing for aggregate demand. All right. So aggregate demand is downward sloping. It looks like a demand curve from microeconomics. And you might have a tendency to think, well, okay, it's just the sum of all the individual products in an economy. So it's just a big old demand curve. And you're partially right, but also there are some different reasons why aggregate demand is downward sloping, and we're going to get into those in this video. So, just to recap, the higher the price level, right, something like this, the lower the real GDP, the lower the price level is going down, real GDP is increasing. So remember, that is an inverse relationship between price level and real GDP. All right. So, what is this curve showing us? Well, it's showing us the gross or aggregate spending or consumption at different price levels. Remember, GDP is all about measuring how much is being produced. And how do we look at that? Well, we use the expenditure method of C plus I plus G plus NX, which we said measures consumer and firm and government spending. So when we look at aggregate demand, just think that spending, consumption, is related to the price level. If the price level is high, that means that spending and consumption will be lower. If the price level is low, that means that spending slash consumption will be high, right? Because GDP is a measure of the total gross aggregate spending in an economy. So why does this happen? Well, there are a few reasons, but the one I'm going to focus on in this video is called the wealth effect. So let's think about it like this. Let's imagine that the price level is higher, right? Things cost more money. As we know from previous videos about inflation and other topics, when the price level is higher, that means purchasing power is lower. Your money can't buy as much stuff because everything is more expensive now. So, the high prices and your decreased purchasing power cause people to buy less stuff, right? Spending, in real terms, decreases, right? So, remember, this is real GDP. So when the price level goes up, real consumption, real spending, not even messing with inflation, decreases. When the price level goes down, that increases, this is just the opposite now, that increases people's purchasing power. They can buy more stuff with their money, and that's going to cause them to buy more stuff. So the wealth effect is probably the primary reason why aggregate demand is downward sloping. High price level makes people poorer and can't buy as much stuff. A lower price level makes people richer, and that means they can buy more stuff. All right. So, shifting aggregate demand. Please remember, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that GDP, using the expenditure method, is the sum of consumer spending plus investment spending plus government spending plus net exports, right? But what we're going to do here is we're going to ignore NX, net exports, for today. We're going to pretend that this is a closed economy. In other words, an economy that does not trade with other countries. So there are no imports from other countries, nor are there exports that we ship to other countries. It just makes it a little bit easier to understand. So now, GDP is going to be equal to C plus I plus G. Consumer spending, investment spending from firms, and government spending. Now, this is pretty straightforward. If the sum of these three components decreases, that means aggregate demand shifts to the left, right? So maybe consumer spending could go up and investment spending could go down and consumer spending or government spending could go up. But the point is, if the sum of these things goes down, aggregate demand is going to shift to the left. That is a decrease in real GDP at any price level. That's what a shift to the left means, right? GDP is going to be lower no matter what the price level is if consumer spending, investment spending, and government spending decrease. Now, of course, if they were to do the opposite, if they were to increase, that would shift the aggregate demand curve to the right, meaning GDP output would be higher at any given price level. So, to wrap up things here, let's talk about why these would change, right? We know that if the price level changes, that's going to be a change in real GDP, but we're not talking about any changes in the price level here. We're talking about shifting, not movement along the aggregate demand curve. So why would they change? Well, C and I, consumer spending and investment spending, primarily change because of expectations of the future, right? Consumers, they try to predict what's going to happen in the future with their own personal financial situation, and they'll make spending decisions based on that. Firms do the same thing, right? Firms look at the future economy as best they can and say, okay, is the economy going to be good or is it going to be bad? And based on that, they're going to make different investment decisions. Remember, when we say investment, we're talking about investing in new capital, new tools of production, or maybe even just more inventory to sell. So the way this works is if the future economy looks bad, like if people feel pessimistic, negative about the economy in the future, consumers and firms are going to start spending less money. And let's think about the train of thought for both of them here, right? If the economy is looking bad, consumers don't want to spend as much money because when the economy starts to look bad, people start to lose their jobs. And if you're afraid of losing your job, you're going to focus on saving your money, right? For if you lose your job, not spending as much money as you can. So consumers often pull back their spending when the economy looks bad. If you're worried about losing your job next month, you're probably not going to go out and buy a new car. Firms, they kind of treat things the same way, right? If the economy is going to be bad in the future, that means people aren't going to be spending as much money. Well, they don't want to invest in a new factory or build new stores or stock up on inventory if no one's going to be buying, right? So firms also pull back their investment spending when the future economy looks like going to be in recession, what we call a contraction, when the economy is shrinking. So those are the reasons why consumer spending and investment spending change. It's all about what they think is going to happen in the future. So again, as I'm making this video, we're in the quarantine, the lockdown, whatever you like to call it, because of coronavirus. Consumers are pulling back their spending. They're not spending as much money, not only because they can't go places to do so, but because, a lot of people have lost their jobs. And so everybody wants to save their money at the moment and make sure they have enough to get by. Firms can already see that this is going to have a massive impact on, how much consumers are spending. Like people are not buying as much stuff in the aggregate. And so firms don't want to expand or invest in a lot of new capital right now overall because of where the economy is most likely headed. When all of this is over and things start to change, this will reverse, right? Everybody will become more optimistic about the economy. Consumers will feel safer to spend more money. Firms will say, okay, people are spending, people are going out again. This would be a good time to start investing again. So they all factor their expectations of the future. Whether they're going to be right or whether they're going to be wrong, we don't know because we don't know the future. But they factor their expectations of the future into their present decisions. Now, the G, why does the G change? G is government spending, right? And that changes because of government policy. And there's all kinds of reasons why the government might spend more money or less money. The government might want to build new roads, new bridges. They might want to hire more workers like teachers, people like that. It could also be that the government has to spend a whole bunch of money on things like social welfare benefits and things like that too, right? So when coronavirus hit, governments received those record jobless claims. And so although it's not government spending, it's a government transfer, the government has to spend a lot more of its money for programs like that. So there's all kinds of reasons why consumer investment and government spending might increase or decrease. And I'll tell you when we have questions about this, I'll tell you what to look for. So That's what would shift an aggregate demand curve. So if C plus I plus G increases, that's going to be a shift to the right. If it decreases, that's going to be a shift to the left. And those are some basics about aggregate demand. Thank you for watching.